All right, now everyone, stop sounding the alarms about Purdue basketball. The season's back on. Final Four dreams are back on. Everything is still in front of us. Everything is okay. We're not even worried about the Kentucky game anymore. What was that, like 3, 4 weeks ago? Last week? Who really cares about that? Purdue gets back to their winning ways with a convincing, fun win over UIndy at home at Mackey. A game that, when we previewed the game, I previewed the game with Greg. And I was talking about how when you're playing a team like UND, you're not really necessarily looking to learn anything. This was one where you want to feel good about yourself. After that Kentucky game, you want to see shots fall, honestly, just
Hmm.
go in. This team shooting 17% from three and not shooting well from the field is just not what this team is about. They're going to be a top five offense in college basketball. It looked like that in this game. Granted, against a Division two opponent, but at this time and given what's going on, you just want some shots to go in. And shots did go in for this one. And we'll go player by player in this one. But just to give you a quick little overview here, Purdue wins the game 92 to 49 over UND. Shout out to my guy Carmelo Harris from Flint Beecher, leading scorer for UND, by the way. 29 points, sorry, not 29, 19 points in this game. Don't let me do him like that. I called him out in the preview. Good to see him hoop against these guys. But on the other end of this, just a pretty special offensive performance from everybody in a game where Braden really didn't even do much in this game. 7 points, 2 assists. He wasn't really even ready to get up for this game, to be honest with you, which I don't blame him. But you get some great performances from the other guards in this game. Fletcher shoots the ball extremely well. Jakari Harris giving you, we'll see, 7 of 10 from the field, 20 points in this game, 4 or 5 from three. That's really good to see. Antoine West hit some shots in this game as well. Some really good Omar Meyer moments as well in
Hmm.
this game. Riley, I'll throw it to you. I know you were able to see this game and also, get a little bit of time to digest it afterwards. What did you I guess your first takeaway from this game?
Yeah, you hit on it with Jakari Harris. He was the story to me just because, you can nitpick any of TKR's struggles. I would even put struggles in quotations. At least what I watched in the Kentucky game, it seemed like he was leaving some shots short on the rim, didn't have the best day from the field. I think he was 7 for 15, which, for most players, that's a good night. For TKR with the standards he's established for himself, a little under par. This game quieter as well, just 10 points, but you still know what he's going to be when the lights are on, when the games start to count. You know what Braden's going to be. You know what Fletcher is going to be. Your big three, like they've been in this system for 3 or 4 years now, and you kind of know what you're going to get out of them night in, night out. But it's some of those ancillary pieces that you want to see step up. And Cart, like you're saying, you're not going to learn a ton from this game because I mean, Indianapolis is a good D2 program. I believe they won 23 plus games in back-to-back seasons in 2023 and 2024. Last year, I think they were 15 and 13, but still, it's not like a D2 punching bag like some teams play at this juncture. Still, you're probably not going to learn a ton, but it's just good to see some of those guys who are expecting to play those secondary roles or be a bench option have a moment just to show that they can perform, to build some confidence and have something to go forward. And I think with Jakari Harris in particular, I mean, he looked like Lance Jones out there. I don't know if it's just because he has the exact same build as him, or it's just the fun like attacking style where he can get into the paint. He's going to pressure you on defense as well, but also of course knock down those 4 threes. And I mean, a couple of them, he was like coming off a screen, squaring up, knocking it
Well,
down. Where
he started feeling good once like those first two win, and he's like, oh, it's Jakari time.
he was thinking it's Jakari time. I mean, 20 points in 18 minutes. Like, you love to see a moment like this from a young dude. And I just know the Purdue faithful, that's why we say trust and paint. What am I going to do? Trust paint? Like, because you get someone like that who is an unheralded recruit who's looking ready to play a meaningful role this year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of discussion from a lot of different parties on like who's the starting guards on this team, who are the guards
Right.
on this team. When you take a step back though, and look, I've been on record saying that like I think CJ Cox is the right starter for this team. But there's also a contingent that think Jakari is the correct starter for this team. It might be different given game to game. Like obviously you want both those guys to play well and be consistent, but maybe it's a situation where you want to look at both of them as a whole, right? Like so from my quote unquote other guard spot, I don't know if you want to make an acronym for it or whatever you want to do. For my other guard spot, you can just put in a group, the Omers, the CJ Coxes, and the Jakari Harrises. If you're going to get that combined production from that group, you feel good about what you can get in that spot, right? And that's what it's really all about. This team really has some good guard play. I know that a lot of talk over the summer was, the front court and adding Oscar Kluff and Daniel
Right.
Jacobson, which we will touch on the front court here shortly. But one of the honestly, one of the biggest things for this team is this is why they're in the top ranks for a lot of the backcourt rankings because you got Braden, you got Fletch, you got Jakari, you got CJ, and now it's about those guys, mainly the younger guys, I think, because I wasn't even the Fletch performance against Kentucky. That's a one-off thing. Like
Mhm.
Fletcher, I'm pretty sure if I could go back in the archives, it's been since like Pee Wee fifth grade in the state of Homestead, Indiana, that Fletcher Lawyer shot less than 40% from three, especially inside state lines. So you really don't got to worry about that. But getting guys like Jakari confidence, getting guys like CJ, Omer, those guys that are going to be at that other guard spot confidence, I think will go a long way for this Purdue team. Um, I guess I'll ask you this, Riley. Given this performance, I know some people have maybe suggested that Jakari should be the starter. You think it's a little bit too like kind of rash to make that move? I kind of do. Like I like this performance from Jakari, but I think that
Mhm.
CJ didn't necessarily play the worst in his own right. I mean, I think one could say that Jakari has outplayed CJ in these two games so far, but at the same time, we got a large sample size of CJ doing it last year as well. So, are you still on board with the starter guard being CJ Cox in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, with how like yeah, you mentioned CJ outplayed him last year and was a little more reliable. If I'm Paint, like to me, is it too much to say? Is it too much of a cop out to say they're sort of interchangeable? I know CJ was like strong defensively last year. I'm enticed by like Harris's like to me it looks like Harris has even bulked up even more since last year, and he already had a college ready frame. And I think if you're looking at someone who you want to have in for defensive purposes, maybe you could lean toward him. But I also thought Cox was pretty good defensively last year, unless I'm missing something. Like,
No,
isn't
he
that sort
was.
of,
No, he
yeah,
was. He
yeah.
was. He was a very. I mean, both those guys, I think, get after it on the ball. I mean, honestly, last season, Jakari was the one with a lot of the hype about defense coming into the year. I thought
Mhm.
CJ was better than him defensively last year, but if Jakari's going to do this offensively, I think he's, not saying he's going to, force Paint's hand, but there's definitely going to be, a world where CJ is going to have to perform to kind of keep Jakari off his heels. But I mean, good problem to have. I'll say that.
I mean, if it to me, it's like if they're, let's say, I was with you from what I remember watching of Cox last year. Like he was someone who kind of popped in terms of, unheralded freshman who holds his own defensively better than you expect. That stuck out to me more than Harris. But if that gap has narrowed, and who I think it or some sort of comes down to who's like better as a catch and shoot threat, because you're gonna have the majority of like your shot creation is coming from Braden. The majority of your secondary, I mean, maybe shot creation is too strong of a word, but like, yeah, I would say TKR can create shots for himself. Like he's gonna have those possessions where it's like, all right, give TKR the ball and get out of the way. You want guys who are gonna play off of them, and I think the most valuable skill in that area is gonna be, how do you look like knocking down shots off the catch? And in this particular game, Jakari was awesome. I think last year, I mean, CJ shot nearly 40% from three, and you can't, I'm not going to, disregard that after one exhibition game. And he still hit a couple in this one too. But yeah, to me, I would almost look at it more from the angle like you're probably leaving CJ there unless you start to struggle early on. Then you give Jakari a shot. Maybe you give Omer a shot if you run into some adversity. But it's also Purdue who has dominated the non-con for the past half decade to where they're probably going to go undefeated again. Like they might not run into any adversity until Big Ten play starts. That might not be that. Maybe then you try shaking up the lineup if you need to. But I mean, if Jakari's bought into his role, I would kind of just stick with what's working.
Yeah, I think so too. And look, like I said, the good thing for Paint is that, let's say CJ's struggling a little bit, Jakari picks him up. Jakari's
Mm-hmm.
struggling, CJ's there to pick him up. Both those guys maybe aren't getting it done. All right, well, let's, what I'm saying, call to the bullpen, bring in the handsome is what I say. Not bring. Is this how you do bringing the right hander in baseball?
Yeah, that looks right.
All right, well, here, bring in the handsome. That's when Omer gets off the bench. Speaking of Omer. I mean, what did you think from him in this game? I just think the kid is like a hooper, man. I think he's dynamic, truly is. And there's been a lot of conversation about what his role looks like on this team. Is he going to be the backup one? And what's that going to look like? Because obviously, backup one means Braden Smith is off the floor.
Hmm.
Simple basketball here. You don't even need a great mind to say this. Probably want Braden on the floor. So, what do you first of all, what do you see from Meyer in this game? And then, in regards to his minutes, what do you think it looks like? Because I mean, from what I saw, I love the aggressiveness, right? I think that he's a guy that's not afraid to go get his. He drew 6 fouls in this game. He was able to get some shots up. He made his free throws. He had the and one. Need the PA announcer to get his name right, but we'll work on that. It's just a UND exhibition game.
The and one was sick. I thought that was everything you wanted to see out of Omer because you trust that the 3 point makes are gonna come. I mean, you still even had a couple flashy passes here, and they didn't always lead to assists, but like there were times where I think it was halfway through the second half when he was out there at the one where he's drawing a double team, contorting his body in weird ways to find the open man. And it's like, oh yeah, you can see the flashes coming there. And I mean, hopefully we get to see a little bit more. But yeah, the and one to me was I think probably the highlight you take away here. But even beyond that, well, I guess I would add that, even after his performance at the U19 World Cup, I know there are questions like, can you get to the rim? So I think it was good to at least have some sort of benchmark you can point to and say, okay, we have a proof of concept here. Here he is getting to the rim, finishing through contact. But just like looks so confident even getting to his pull-up jumper. I know there was that one where he drew a foul on one of them and it didn't count, but it's like sometimes I'm just watching the movements. Does he look comfortable? Does he look like confident enough to I mean, it might sound silly based on his skill set, but to put the ball on the deck and take that shot and get to that, and or does he? And to me, that looks like it's something where he's not overthinking things, even if his minutes like aren't where he probably wants them to be right now. And even beyond that, this might be a little too much of like grind the tape, turn on synergy, tell me
Right.
what you see, but
You and Dowser in a
me and
local
Dowser.
local airport, Chili's, just going to work.
But there's a few possessions defensively where I just watched Omer last night. I thought he looked bought in. I thought he looked active. He
That's
didn't fall asleep off ball.
they try to talk about my boy like he's a cone, and I get his
Yeah.
UND, but I've seen like cones no efforts. He's at least giving it a good old Boilermaker try.
Right. Yeah. And I think I don't know if you're ever going to look at him and be like, oh, he is a high impact defender, but just watch him playing off ball defense. And I mean, he's locked in, he's not falling asleep. That again, that's the one thing in these types of games. I look, how does he move? Does he still look confident even with a smaller role than maybe anticipated? Is he still taking those tough shots off the bounce that sort of make him him? Checked all those boxes. And then defensively, it's like, yeah, maybe he's not going to be the most impactful, but at least he's not falling asleep. He's not dying on screens. He's moving his feet. He's communicating. He's doing all of that, which I think should, if you're a Purdue fan, give you some hope that, like, okay, this is a role that can grow as the season goes. And maybe you do get to that point where situationally you're able to throw out Braden and Omer and Fletch and just trust Paint to figure out like how to work that Braden and Omer dynamic. I mean, there was one possession early in the second half where, I mean, Omer draws like I think they hedged on the ball screen. He finds TKR who hits. I believe it was Liam Murphy or Jack Benter in the corner for
Hmm.
three. I can't remember which guy it was, but it's like you see those just gorgeous offensive actions. It's like, okay, this is the vision here. And if you have two guys who can play like that, then yeah, the ceiling for this team's offense is going to be really, really high.
100%. Now we got to move to the front court. All right. Look, I watching the first half, at least to start, I thought it was a little bit clunky from TKR again, coming off that Kentucky game. This
Hmm.
isn't the TKR that we've, I think, been used to seeing last year, right? This is, for me, it's a sleepy-ish game because it's UND. But coming off that other game, I did want to see a little bit more from TKR to start this one. I think he did end up picking it up in this game. Ends up with 10 and 6. Good to see him get a little bit better in the rebounding category in this game. Had some assists, kept the turnovers a little bit down. Only had two in this game. I believe he had 3 or 4 turnovers in the last game to 0 assists. So good to see him do a little bit of that. And I don't know. This is how I look about it in the lens of TKR. It's like when guys talk about guards and they're like, "Oh, I mean, but those shots are so tough that they shoot, but they make them, right?
Hmm.
And tough shots and making tough shots is kind of a thing. And I feel like people look at TKR and they're like, well, he's a big man, he's just shooting in the paint. some of his paint shots are really difficult. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes him so good. Like he has
Hmm.
elite touch. A lot of guys when they're teaching big men to score, you really don't want to encourage like getting hook shots far away from the basket or really shooting floaters. But TKR does that damn near better than anybody in the country. If you get him on a
Yeah.
little short roll, you get him on that little hook shot. Now, I do think it's like a foot or two further than it was last year, which is kind of causing a little bit of like, they're a little bit short, I would say. But he's gonna figure that out. I feel like
Yeah.
that's, he'll figure it out. It's really about how he's gonna look next to the centers. I guess what are your thoughts on TKR's game?
TKR, I wouldn't say I'm worried. I think it's more so how do you find, like, can you play him and Kluff together? Are we already ready to give up on the Oscar Kluff experiment? I don't want to. I loved Kluff. I was banging the drum for Kluff all offseason saying like this guy is so skilled in the post. He's got great touch around the basket, really good passer. There's a lot of creative ways Paint can utilize him. But when you think about it, Cart, you're mentioning this is like TK's game is sort of give him the ball in the paint, get out of the way, let him go get a bucket. And I get he can make plays on the short roll too. And I think he's got a good feel. I'm not trying to say he's like ball dominant, only wants to shoot. I think he can do other things, but to me, like Kluff is just sort of getting in the way right now when he's playing alongside TK. And at least with Jacobson, you have that lob threat and you have that guy where it's like, okay, TK is going to take some tough shots. He's not going to hit every single one. Good news, we got a 7'4" kid who can rebound everything with these crazy long arms. Oh, and by the way, he's looking angry and ready to dunk everything this year too. Like Jacobson just feels like such a better fit right now next to TKR. And even beyond that, I'm already asking like is the solution when TK has to sit, is that when you get your Oscar Kluff minutes and you can let him be a little more ball dominant, you can force some post touches to him and play him alongside whether it's Benter or whether it's Liam Murphy, however you feel like whoever's performing better out of that group can play alongside him and space the floor a little bit and give him more room to operate. But I would say not concerned about TKR as a whole, very concerned about the TKR Kluff pairing.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say you can be concerned about that as well. I mean, with Clough, not to, coming into this game, I said there's not a lot to learn, but it would have been great for this team to one, knock down shots like they did, and two, just for Clough to have a good game against a Division II level front. Like, if you think about this, these are the type of teams last year that Clough dominated. I'm talking about Clough
Mhm.
will be like 20-20 against these type of teams
Right.
last year playing for South Dakota. But it did not look great in this one. He didn't really, I mean, 15 minutes, only 5 rebounds for him. That's not really that great. 4 fouls. He was in foul trouble this game, 3 turnovers to 1 assist. He just looked very uncomfortable. He looked, quite frankly, like, the level that Purdue is a little bit ahead of where he's at right now. Now, it is October 30th. You got till March to figure that out. And maybe that's the goal for Oscar Club. Maybe all you do is take a step back and realize it might take him a little bit longer than you necessarily thought. It's always hard to evaluate big men that come up a level because it's like one, okay, usually some of those big men from lower levels are like maybe a little bit undersized. So like the rebounding can't equate or they're young. Clough's a big fella. Clough's also an old guy who's had a lot of experience. So I guess I didn't really expect for him to look like, if there's a couple steps, like I guess a couple steps behind right now where everybody else is at. And look, it's an adjustment period. Hopefully he figures it out. But as I was watching this game, I was like, okay, yeah, this team's gonna need Jacobson to come along a little bit faster than they thought. And even even the center position as a whole, I think Jacobson picked it up. Jacobson was in foul trouble himself. So you had both your centers in foul trouble in this game.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you look at Jacobson's line, he gives you 10 and 8,
Mhm.
right? That's
Jacobson was
what's
nasty.
that's what somebody should give you in 16 minutes against an opponent like you, Indy.
Right.
Honestly, Oscar Club, for lack of a better term, giving you 2 and 5 in 15 minutes with his size and experience against a team like this, a front court like this, I think it's fair to say it's a little bit concerning. But now, when I
Mhm.
say concerning, I don't want everybody to jump on me. It's concerning. It can be fixed, but
Mhm.
it's something I'm looking at like, that's not necessarily kind of the pitch on him, right?
Yeah, Car, think about this. Like, I'll ask you a question. Where do you think Clough ranked nationally in both offensive rebounding rate and defensive rebounding rate a season ago?
He had to be top 5 in both, right?
Top five in both. Fifth in offensive rebounding, first in defensive rebounding rate. Literally led the country in that metric. And yet we're sitting here on October 30th saying, excuse me, Jacobson's the better rebounder. He's the one who I want out there right now next to TKR who can catch dunks and maybe have a little bit more, I would say, like vertical spacing. And when TK misses any shots, it's like I just trust Jacobson to grab the board right now. To me, it looked like this in the Kentucky game where it's just like Oscar's getting outworked. And I want it to work out for him. Like I said, like I was a huge fan of the addition. It seemed like a perfect fit. And I still think there's definitely a decent chance I would say Painter can make it work, but it might be almost like when he realized that he couldn't play Zach Edey and Travion Williams together and realized that maybe Edey was going to be, or at least had the chance to be this transcendent talent. I mean, I would say it's to a lesser extent here with TKR and Kluff, but yeah, it might be the type of thing where Kluff is just the bench big who comes in and can give you some easy looks around the basket. But man, I just want to see him. Like, I need a sign of life on the glass, before the month of November ends. Let's give it a month. I need like a 10 rebound game from Kluff. I don't care who it comes against. I just want to see him with his mojo back. Because I think you're gonna see like the up and unders where you see the good touch around the basket. You see the sound footwork and everything. He had a couple of those against Kentucky where he just couldn't finish, and maybe that comes. Maybe he just needs an adjustment period to figure out the size and physicality at this level against IU Indy or Indy U, whatever they're called. Like, there's too many Indiana
Way
schools.
too, yeah. Honestly, I get that basketball means more in the state, but like it's crazy. Come on now.
Like we can't come up. What is this? This is the University of Indianapolis or Indianapolis University?
I want to say it's University of Indianapolis,
Okay, for let's see, stat. Okay, yeah, U Indy.
the
You there
Greyhounds.
there should not be a U Indy and an IU Indy. IUPUI should have just stuck with IUPUI if that's a fact.
That's very. Didn't IUPUI change their name?
Yeah, they changed from IUPUI to IU Indy.
See, yeah, that's too much. It's way too much.
Way too much. Whatever happened to like, I don't know, spice it up a little bit with the names.
We used to be a proper country. I'll say that. I mean, look, the story of this is that Oscar Kluff was, even at a lower non-power five level, he was one of the best rebounders in the country offensively and defensively. These are the players that had more defensive rebounds than Oscar Kluff in this game. Trey Kaufman-Renn, CJ Cox, Daniel Jacobson, Jakari Harris. Like I mean, Omar Meyer, Antoine West, Liam Murphy, Aaron Fine had as many defensive rebounds as Oscar Clough in this game. Now, I know the minutes varied a little bit, but that's just, for lack of a better term, that's unacceptable. Oscar's better. He's better than that. I'm not expecting anything crazy, but he's way better than that. And this team's gonna need him to play a role too, by the way, because look, I think Jacobson is great. Jacobson brings that length. Jacobson is still very, very on the side of not, and this is not a bad term. This is just a term I use. And y'all watch these videos. He's still light in the ass. All right, he's light in the, and there's a bunch of 23-year-olds who eat protein and creatine as they go to sleep that are looking that they want to push that guy around. Now he can use his length. He can hold up against that. Don't get me wrong. But this team needs what Oscar Clough brings. He has a body that takes up two seats on an airplane. That's great for them. And he needs to utilize that for rebounding in this one. So I guess we'll end with this. What's your biggest stock up from this game? Biggest stock down, and then also, I don't know, just maybe give me your feelings on Purdue going into the season because I haven't talked to you about Purdue in a while. Just giving off, the exhibition games. There's been a lot of chatter about that.
Yeah, stock up. Again, I'm going with Jakari Harris. I
Yeah, I
know
feel
I
like that's
said
I feel like that's got to be for everybody.
I'm not ready to complete, like I said, not ready to put him in over CJ Cox, especially just looked up the numbers. CJ Cox made significantly more 2 pointers last year, got to the free throw line more than Harris. And I think, yeah, Harris's path to minutes is like, can you use that frame to be a little more aggressive, give some of that rim pressure plus the catch and shoot ability, which again, Cox shot 40% from three last year, has got the edge there. But still, Jakari Harris, stock up. Stock down, it has to be Kluff, unfortunately. And how I feel about Purdue, I don't know if I view them as the number one team anymore because part of that was contingent on Kluff being a really good complementary piece to TK in the front court. Still top three or four, though. I'm not really panicked. I just don't think they're the clear cut number one anymore.
Yeah, that's fair to say. And look, long season ahead. Now the games mean something. But listen, this is what you want in an exhibition game against an opponent like this. You want to show out. You want to win by a lot. Stock up, Jakari. Stock down, Matt Painter. Okay. We got to hit a hundo, Matt. Coach Payne, we had it right there. We scored 46 in the first half, 46 in the second half. I thought we called the Boilermakers off in the second half. I thought we could have got to 100. It would have been nice. We got to get there. That's what we wanted. But be sure to tune in to all previews and recaps for all the big games, for all the big teams across the country, including Purdue, here on Sleeper's YouTube channel.